MeMonster.
Chapter 86. The evening after clearing the 20th floor. Welcome to Pick Me Up. Anything. Logged in. Loading complete. Touch select. I placed the file in the drawer and stood up. Inside, I had written down the record of clearing the 20th floor, for reference in case a similar mission came up in the future. When anything touched the screen, the game's main screen appeared. A message popped up. Master, there's a hero waiting for promotion. Promotion-eligible hero, Han, 2 stars. I looked at the message box sparkling in green. With yesterday's clear, my level had reached 20. This meant I was eligible for a 3-star promotion. However, a 3-star promotion required slightly rarer materials than a 2-star promotion. Tips for Master who cleared the 20th floor. To promote to 3 stars, you need intermediate promotion stones. Intermediate promotion stones can be crafted by combining low-rank promotion stones and low-rank soul stones. Remember that. It seemed like Isel was doing her job. After finishing the now cold tea, I left the room. When I entered the plaza, Isel was in the process of moving a cart with items. "Oh, you're here." Isel waved at me. "What's that?" "These are mementos from the ones who died this time. Cups and dolls they used. Nothing special." I looked to the left of the plaza. The storage room door was open, and beyond it I could see the backs of Edis and Roderick. Indeed, it seemed like they were tidying up after the battle. Minimal mourning would still be necessary for the future. Next to the storage room, Jenna was leaning against the wall. She approached me with a shy smile. "What are you up to?" I was thinking about going in. It looked serious, so I held back. I glanced at the contents of the cart. The wooden cups with jagged edges were Asher's belongings. He had a hobby of carving. The doll was probably from the archer who died this time. The details were unclear. Jenna murmured, "Nothing here belongs to the third party, huh?" "Because they couldn't make it to the second floor." "That's a bit unfortunate." As the cart entered, the storage room's door closed. I shifted my gaze. I didn't have much to do. Anything, who had stored Asher and Diren's mementos, started his next task. He touched the Facility tab. "You have selected the Transformation Chamber, an auxiliary building of the Synthesis Chamber. Will you build it?" "Yes." "Grrr." "The Transformation Chamber is complete. Now you can transform heroes." "Good." "The Promotion Chamber has evolved to level 2. Synthesis efficiency has increased." I sighed. "What about you, Jenna?" "I don't know. It's a bit dull to train. I think I'll go to the lounge. They say there are games like chess there." "Then go ahead." "What about you, Oppa?" "I'm a bit busy." With a puzzled look, Jenna entered the dormitory. Alone now, I sat on a bench on the second-floor plaza. After a while, through the transparent floor, I saw Isel bringing someone out. Thunk. The synthesis chamber door opened, but the message was different. "Master, transformation is starting. Tips: Transformation tab is now open. Try transforming heroes to obtain various materials." Transformation. It's the second way to make use of useless heroes, since in some cases the level difference between the subject and the offering diminishes the merit of synthesis. The man screamed and struggled, but he couldn't hold out for long. He was thrust into the synthesis chamber. The door closed tightly. A moment later, "Good. Transformation complete. You have obtained low-rank soul stones." I knew the guy who had just transformed. He was one of those who did nothing despite the separation of the upper and lower floors and discrimination in consciousness. It was one of those cases where there was no value even in synthesis. It's a pleasant sight. I chuckled. The neglect in the eyes of the people in the first-floor plaza who had been chattering earlier disappeared. They hurriedly left for the training hall and armory. I stared at the message box that appeared next. Item synthesis in progress. Selected materials: low-rank attribute stones, low-rank soul stones. Completed item: intermediate promotion stone. Success rate: 91%. Synthesis method: automatic. Do you want to proceed with the synthesis? Yes. No. Kururung tang tang. Fairy power? Good. Synthesis complete. You have obtained intermediate promotion stone. I sat on the bench and watched the messages appearing one by one. It didn't take long for Isel to bring out the intermediate promotion stone. Although it had a similar color to the low-rank promotion stone, it was a different size. I accepted the fist-sized stone and put it in my pouch. The door to the second-floor synthesis chamber opened, and I spoke. "This is the second time, huh? Since there are up to 7 stars, you only need to do it 4 more times."
But seriously, Izel, how much interference have you accumulated? I want to have a showdown with the master. Oh, that sweat dripped from Izel's temple. Did you use it all? No, I just watched MooTube a bit. What happened to surfing the web? Yeah, well, but I can't help it. There are too many heroes. Work all day. I end up looking haggard. Stress keeps piling up. People die from overwork, you know? The workload was indeed quite heavy. I chuckled. When anything logged in, Izel never stopped moving. I agreed that Izel needed some leisure time too. It doesn't matter if it's not that much. I just need it for a little bit. When you finish promoting, we'll start right away. Well, Izel narrowed her eyes and placed her hand on her chin. Then she circled in her spot. It should be about 30 minutes of internet access time. I've mentioned it before, but writing emails or posting on forums reduces the time. That's fine. Get ready. I stood up from the bench and walked to the synthesis chamber. The second door inside the synthesis chamber was open. I entered one after another. When I placed the promotion stone on the altar in the center of the room, a red light enveloped my body. Master, the promotion begins. Master, the promotion begins. When I opened my eyes, I found myself inside a house. The sight inside the room was familiar. I had seen it before. It was the shabby house I saw during the 2-star promotion. It had a crude wooden structure. There was a woman holding a baby back then. That woman was not visible now. However, in one corner of the room, someone crouched and shivered. I could only see their back. Judging by their physique, it seemed to be a young boy. I reached out my hand, but as expected, an invisible barrier blocked me. Is this happening again? I clicked my tongue. The young boy with black hair crouched and murmured, "Mom, Dad." Thunk. I forcefully pushed aside the invisible barrier. It's annoying. I didn't understand why it was showing me this.
Leaving the boy alone, I surveyed the surroundings. I saw a door on the right wall. I grabbed the doorknob, but it was locked. When I opened this door and went out last time, I met that woman. It was a very unpleasant and dirty experience that I didn't want to go through again. Anyway, unless that door opened, there was no way out of here. I sat on a rocking chair in the corner and crossed my arms, waiting. The boy called for his parents with trembling voices, but I didn't pay him any attention. About 10 minutes passed. The darkness outside the window engulfed the entire room, and a message announcing the completion of the promotion appeared. Pa-pa-pam. Congratulations, Master. The forgotten memories of the hero have awakened. Han, 3 stars. Promotion complete. He has become 3 stars. Illustration updated. Level and skill cap increased. Hero's class change is now possible. Darkness enveloped my body. After returning to the red magic circle, I left the synthesis chamber. Izel was nodding off on the bench. I smacked Izel's forehead. With a strange groan, Izel's eyes opened. Hey, how long have I been inside? Izel wiped the wet corners of her eyes and fluttered her wings. I looked around and then said, "Let's talk in my room. There are quite a few prying eyes here." Tsk, how annoying. Izel hopped onto my shoulder. I contemplated whether to brush her off, but I decided not to. On my way back to the lodging, a summoning message appeared. Master, starting a 5 consecutive summon. Looking forward to which heroes will come out. Takak, dulu. Follow. Common. Master anything. Is he replenishing the ranks? Dika, who is in the training camp, walked out to the entrance of the summoning chamber. Dika also had the role of a trainer and was responsible for the education of the newly arrived recruits. Do you think it's okay to not go? If you're busy, it's fine even tomorrow. It's fine. The screening will start from tomorrow. Is that so? Dika addressed the newcomers with an encouraging tone. Various reactions were received. It seemed that they would undergo at least minimal training before deployment tomorrow. I walked through the lobby and entered my room. Izel descended from my shoulder and perched on the desk. Let's start right away. Open the window. Before that, there's something I want to tell you. Izel revealed a mischievous smile. The reason I was surfing the web wasn't just for fun. I was also trying to help Loki. I searched for various information that could be helpful in my own way. So? Do you want to hear it? Do you want it? It's a very special report, my master. I reluctantly agreed. Izel raised her index finger. First one. Anything joined Ragnaraki. Huh? Ragnaraki. I told you about it before. The nationwide Loki Association, the Master of Masters #1 fan cafe. Goosebumps ran down my arm. I placed my hand on my forehead. So, you're saying that anything joined the fan cafe? Of course. That guy also realized the greatness of Loki. What else could he do? The heavenly scroll he received? Ooh, that lucky guy. I want one too. I ignored Azel's sparkling eyes. It's not entirely useless. This way I can confirm that anything has developed a liking for me. This would be a significant plus factor in correcting the master's gameplay. Although I wasn't particularly pleased, I spoke. What's the second one? It's information about Niflheim. I held my breath. Isel raised her index finger along with her middle finger. Then she said, Niflheim has resumed recruiting members. Recruiting members? Yes, the conditions are level 20 and 3 stars or higher. Basically, heroes from Server 2 who are approaching their class advancements. Show me the details. When Isel opened her palm, a hologram window appeared. Pick me up. Welcome to the Dimension Cafe. The Dimension Cafe. It was an internal community accessible from the right side of the main screen of Pick Me Up. It was self-accessed within the game and had a slightly different purpose from the official website. Deployment Bulletin Board. Caution: this place is for posting messages related to deployments. Any other content will be deleted. Only masters level 20 and above can write and view. Post 8415932. Niflheim Training Service Information. Loki Niflheim, Dimension Coordinates 101. Resuming training services, recruiting 100 members from Server 2. We will nurture and advance your heroes according to your desired conditions. Duration is 10 days. Self-training within Niflheim's facilities with our instructors. We guarantee the best results. Please leave your dimension coordinates and the hero you want to send in the comments section below. Comments will be kept private. Requirements: Server 2, level 20 or higher, non-class advanced. Participation fee, 500 gems. Note: self-unfair operation, hero death insurance, high-ranking rewards. Comment 17433. There was no need to look at it. I waved my hand and Isel closed the window. Isel placed her hand on her hip and blew air out of her nose. Isn't it funny? Loki is right here. Where is this impersonator coming from? I placed my hand on my chin. There were quite a few things to think about. Still, aren't you surprised? I thought you'd be flabbergasted. I know how the internet is. There's nothing that can't happen there. But there were still some surprising things. First, the fact that Pick Me Up's heroes could interfere with the master system. I was clearly here, but the author of the post was Loki. The authority of the submaster, which I thought was just a simple substitute, seemed to be more powerful than I thought. The second was the conditions for the services. It matched perfectly with our current situation. It's almost like it's calling for me.
Chapter 87. It's been a while since Niflheimer posted something like this. Let me see. 5 months. Yeah, 5 months in Earth time, Isel said, folding her palms together with a puzzled expression. But the real Loki is here, isn't he? Who's the one posting this? I pondered this carefully. Without me, there are 2 candidates who could inherit the authority. First is Ceres, who holds the top rank, and second is Urnit, who's in second place. After considering who among them would be likely to do this, I came to a conclusion. It's Urnit. The reason would become apparent when I went there myself. This service, which accepts heroes from other waiting rooms for training after dimensional openings, was a method I used back when I was renovating the facility a long time ago. It was a massive construction project, and no matter how many gems I had, it was insufficient. Thus, I had to bring in people from other places to get more gems. Of course, there were other reasons as well. After some stabilization, it was immediately closed down. I had no intention of reopening it. But at this point, the service was reopened, and it was tailored to my current situation. What should we do? Isel looked at me with an anxious gaze. We should apply. The number of comments is enormous. The competition rate is over 100 to 1. Will the master even apply? It costs 500 gems. Didn't anything join Ragnaraki? Isel nodded her head. That settles it then. Anything joining my fan cafe meant that he knew my identity from the documents I sent him. Furthermore, he was following my strategy up to this point. It meant he was quite invested. Controlling him wouldn't be difficult. Open the window. Let's compose an email. Okay. Isel sat down in a chair, closed her eyes, and brought her index fingers to her temples. Fairy power? A window appeared before us. Isn't it different from last time? Anyway, we didn't have much time. I quickly entered the email section. There was no reply from anything. I didn't know if he had nothing to say or if there were other reasons. I pressed the send button after composing the message. There are 3 things we need to convey. The first was to open a dimensional rift and leave a comment on Niflheimer's post for recruiting new residents in the Dimensional Cafe. It didn't matter if the competition rate was 100 to 1 or 1,000 to 1. Comments on the recruitment board were kept private, visible only to the author. So I would write something there that only Niflheimer heroes would know. Done with that. The second message was about anything's current gameplay. The advice was simple. Do some paid gacha. It was good to raise lower-ranked heroes. Even without me, we could acquire talents like Jenna, Velkist, and Narissa. However, relying solely on them would be foolish. Lower-ranked heroes had potential, but it paled in comparison to higher-ranked ones. That was a clear fact. One more thing. Focusing on developing lower-ranked heroes only paid off when a proper system was in place. Throwing them into the training grounds without a plan was not the way to go. We still needed the power of higher-ranked heroes. Analyzing the 20th floor process, I concluded that having advanced heroes mixed in the second party and third party would have made it much easier. The last message was important. Don't blindly trust my strategies. The operation of the waiting room needed to be adjusted according to the situation. There would come a time when you had to judge on your own rather than relying on my strategies. While using them as a reference was fine, depending too much on them hindered your own growth. I wrote this down at the bottom and then send. When I touched the button, a message appeared saying the email was sent. I pressed the X button several times and exited. It's done. You can turn it off now. Click. The window disappeared. Isel wiped her sweat from her forehead. It's already done? We could have done a bit more. She seemed to be feeling quite enthusiastic now, despite initially pretending to be dead. You can use the rest. Really? Isel approached me eagerly. I stood up from the chair. There were certainly some things I could do. I was curious about the state of my body on Earth. Was it destroyed, or had I become a plant person lying in a hospital? I also wanted to contact other masters in a cooperative relationship with Niflheimer. It can wait. I decided to do those tasks once we had a solid foundation here. By then, a long-term regime on the internet would likely be possible. I pushed Isel, who was trying to stick to me, and left the room. Although there would be a rest period after the 20th floor, I couldn't afford to relax. I went to the second-floor plaza. After spending so much time there, Edis came out of the storage room. Edis, who spotted me, narrowed her eyes tiredly. Come with me for a moment. Edis nodded as she tilted her head and followed me. We entered the restaurant and took a seat at a table where no one's gaze would reach. Did you get some sleep? Well. Her eyes were somewhat puffy. Edis sighed deeply without saying a word. This girl is stressed too. There were 3 possible reasons for this. First was the occurrence of 2 deaths in the party. Second was the failure to defend the shrine. Given Edis' personality, she couldn't help but feel responsible. The third was the insane difficulty level. I chuckled. Among the countless missions, only the crazy ones seemed to get selected. As that woman had claimed, the internal difficulty of Taunaunia was at an S level, almost on par with Niflheimer. What about the morale of the members? They're fine. Aaron seems to be training more than before. He's currently practicing in the training grounds. On the other hand, the first-floor kids, they turned their backs on combat because the entire third party got wiped out. The survival rate is low, huh? Yeah. Some people think it's better to just eat potatoes than fight and die. I clenched my fist. Due to the low survival rate, another problem had arisen: the imbalance in hero ratios. Starting from the next mission, I need to consider the survival of subparties as well. Of course, before dealing with that issue, proper education and experience are needed. The third party had never experienced a boss stage. The absence of experience was the trigger for their complete defeat. We need to improve the regeneration stone farming and the training facility to make it more useful. Anything would handle the construction. I conveyed this information and the solution to Edis. Edis, who had been listening quietly, mumbled, "You're something." "Nothing. I just feel that you're amazing. You know everything, your instructions are precise, your judgments are cool-headed, and your combat power is incredible. You almost single-handedly took down the dragon. It was beyond common sense." Edis let out a bitter smile.
Compared to you, I'm just a small fry. At first, I thought I could be of some help, but somehow I feel like I'm drifting further away. Ugh! I stepped on Edis's foot hard. What's with the unnecessary nonsense? I've said it before. I can't do it all by myself. I understand. I'm sorry. I'll be gone soon. About a month. If we convert 10 Earth days to the waiting room, it's about a month. Edis blinked. A month? Are you going on an expedition or something? No, I'm going farther. Until then, please take care of this place. There will be quite a bit to do. If anything follows my advice, advanced heroes will enter this waiting room to fill the vacancies in the second party and take charge of the core in the third party. I explained this possibility to Edis, who nodded. So, you want me to take charge? That's right. Don't cling to me. But seriously, where are you going? I'm going to a different waiting room. Edis had a question mark on her face. I realized I needed to explain this as well. I chuckled and said, "We're not the only ones here. There are other masters and heroes." After finishing the explanation, Edis was unable to utter a word for a moment. 100 million? There are 100 million places like this? They only say 100 million. In reality, it's not even half of that. No matter what. Among them, there are at most 10 that directly engaged with us. There is no need to worry. Edis cupped her forehead. I feel like I've come to an incredibly different world. Anyway, I get it. I'll try what you told me. I trust only you. I got up from my seat, walked past Edis, and placed my hand on her shoulder. Edis nodded slightly. Anything didn't take long to end today's play, and then he didn't log in for a while. I organized the results of the battles at the training ground. A 2-level increase in Frenzy and Invincibility and Dragon's Blood, Dragon Slayer. The ability bonus obtained from using Frenzy had increased to nearly 10. Immortality had the effect of delaying abnormal status effects such as poisoning, confusion, and bleeding. It was one of the recommended support skills for heroes who used Frenzy, since it added immunity to abnormal states on top of increasing combat power. Dragon Slayer granted bonuses when facing Dragonkind. It was a special skill that could only be learned through an achievement, rather than train. It seemed that the system had given me an achievement for delivering the finishing blow to the dragon. If I knew this, I would have gone out to fight. Velkist clicked his tongue in the training ground. Then we would have ended up with the trouble of clearing one more corpse, Neerus had teased. The two of them laughed and entered the practice area. And after a few more days, the intensity of that boss battle was forgotten. Welcome to Pick Me Up. Anything logged in. He quickly skipped through the emerging announcements and events and went straight to the detailed menu. Then he went to the Help section under Miscellaneous Items and searched for the Dimensional Rift. What is the Dimensional Rift? The Dimensional Rift is a special facility where you can enjoy external content of Pick Me Up. It is only open to Masters level 20 and above, and there is no additional cost. Subcategories: Dispatch, Expedition, Event. Notification. When you open the Dimensional Rift, you can access the Dimensional Cafe on the right side of the main screen.
In the Dimensional Cafe, you can interact with other masters. Caution. When you open the Dimensional Rift, you will be assigned dimensional coordinates. In addition, the first-tier protection of the waiting room will be lifted. Be careful as you may be exposed to invasions by other masters. Master, decide carefully. Tips. Dimensional coordinates are coordinates within the current server's waiting room. Tips. You can choose not to open the Dimensional Rift if you prefer solo play. Anything close the help section and return to the main screen. Then he touched a gray icon that was shining white. The icon had the words Dimensional Rift engraved on it. I left the room and headed to the second-floor plaza. In front of the plaza, light was seeping through the tightly closed doors. Master, opening the Dimensional Rift. Are you sure you want to proceed? Once opened, it cannot be undone. Yes. Clang. The door leading to the Dimensional Rift shook violently. Asking once more, are you sure? Yes. When anything touched yes, Isel popped out and sprinkled stardust. He chose to open it as expected. Isel had a complex expression. Opening the Dimensional Rift is not a good thing. We'll be able to do more than we can now. That's true. Then I should go all out, right? After Isel took a light breath, she reached out her right hand. A mass of light extended from her hand and clung to the closed door. Open. Dimensional Rift. Bang! The door leading to the Dimensional Rift opened. Finally. Messages kept popping up in my field of vision.
Chapter 88. Opening completed. Dimensional Rift has been added to the manipulation menu. Dispatch has been added to the submenu. Expedition has been added to the submenu. Events have been added to the submenu. Dimensional coordinates have been assigned to the waiting room Twania. Current coordinates 195.513.447.935. Sector assigned to waiting room Twania. Assigned sector 95513. Tips. You can check nearby maps through the Dimensional Rift tab. Refer to the Help section for more details. You can now use the Dimensional Cafe. In the Dimensional Cafe, you can interact with other masters. For more details, see the Help section. Notice, regarding beginner protection. Until the account reaches level 40, floor 40, death protection will be applied. In the event of a battle with another master, even if your hero dies, they will not be annihilated. However, the recovered hero will experience a significant decrease in levels, abilities, and skills. Keep that in mind. Tips. Recovered heroes are not as powerful as before. Consider synthesis or transformation. I turned my attention away from the messages. I already knew what they said. There was no need to read further. I walked through the open door. Inside, a cool breeze greeted me. After stopping at a suitable spot, I examined the Dimensional Rift. My first impression was that this facility was enormous. Unlike the spherical rifts I had seen before, this was a straight-line chamber stretching over 100 meters in length. The ceiling was also very high. The reason was clear. This facility itself was a storage warehouse. Master, for the smooth use of external content, airship processing is required. Airships consist of 4 components: body, engine, dimensional core, and blueprint. You can assemble them to create an airship. Additionally, to operate an airship, a magician is required. Airships. Even if the Dimensional Rift was open, it couldn't be used properly without airships. Since anything is at level 20, crafting and operating an airship is challenging. Practical use would likely require reaching higher levels. Pick me up. Welcome to the Dimensional Cafe. Nonetheless, I opened the Dimensional Rift. Dispatch bulletin board. Caution. This is where posts related to dispatch are made. The purpose was as expected. As soon as anything entered the Dimensional Cafe, he headed straight to the dispatch bulletin board and started searching for Loki's post. After a while, a comment was added to the recruitment post for Niflheim training services. So we're doing it.
I looked at the dead end of the dimensional rift. It had a radius of about 10 meters. Gray light spiraled in a helical pattern, forming a dimensional gate. When I tried to touch it, it felt like an invisible wall was blocking my hand. It seemed to be in an inactive state. Observation was over. I exited the dimensional rift, and the door closed silently. Notice: Evacuation Guide for Enemy Intrusion. Master, please set up an evacuation route in preparation for invasion. Heroes who cannot engage in combat will evacuate through the designated route when enemies invade. Tips: The dormitory is an inaccessible area for intrusion. A cross-section of the waiting room appeared in Anything's control panel. It must have felt a bit overwhelming. Opening the dimensional rift had brought various inconveniences. He'd be busy for a while. I cleared the control panel from my sight and entered the training grounds. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of metal clashing. Inside the sparring area, Velkist and Aaron were facing off with their weapons. This combination was rare. Apart from the two of them, the training grounds were empty. I took a seat and watched the fight. The outcome didn't take long. Velkist's sword pierced through Aaron's defense and reached his neck. It seems the odds are against you. Velkist's eyes rose, spotting me outside the training grounds. What brings you here? I heard you were resting. Even if I told you to rest, you still train. Staying still makes me itch, Velkist replied, wiping his sweat with a towel and taking a sip of water. Are you here to teach me a lesson or two, senior? I have no business with you, I said with a smile. Velkist lightly clicked his tongue. I turned my attention to Aaron, who was walking out of the training grounds. Aaron. Oh, Hyungnim. He seemed unaware that I had come. I nodded. I have something to discuss. Follow me. Aaron looked puzzled, but obediently followed. I left the training ground with Aaron and headed back to the dormitory. When I opened the door to the lounge next to it, I saw an unfamiliar scene. That's it. Jenna's hand placed a knight on the chessboard. Wow! Iloka's face showed disappointment. I sat down on the couch next to the table. There's chess here too. Do you know this game, Oppa? I didn't know it, and neither did Iloka Uni. We found it out of boredom. There's even an instruction manual. It's called chess, apparently. You didn't know it? Isn't that a lie? Then how do you explain the 10-game winning streak? Oh, come on. How would I know, living in the forest? It's my first time today. Oh, by the way, isn't that Aaron, Oppa, behind you? Jenna looked at Aaron over my shoulder as she spoke. I have something to say to both of you. This place seems suitable. Nobody's around. But I'm here. You shouldn't be here, right? I believe it's your study time. No, well... Sweat appeared on Iloka's forehead. I chuckled and settled into the couch. Just kidding. Just give us a moment alone. It won't take long. All right. Iloka quickly left the lounge. As I made myself comfortable, Aaron sat next to Jenna. What's going on? Why did you call us here? How much baggage do you have? Personal items, like Iloka's fan or outerwear. I don't really have much, besides weapons. I don't have many possessions either. Then you're in luck. I continued speaking. Get ready to leave this place. The expressions on both of their faces momentarily froze, then turned to shock. Jenna stood up. Oppa, you don't mean we're finally leaving this place? Sorry, but no. We're just going to another waiting room. I explained to them just like I did with Eris. Listening to the explanation, Jenna's and Aaron's expressions changed rapidly, but in the end they nodded in understanding. Afterwards, I added that Anything had sent a deployment request to another master's waiting room. So the three of us are going to another waiting room? That's right. It'll be for about a month. We'll train in the facilities of the other waiting room and come back. It'll be a valuable experience. Wouldn't it be better for someone else than me? Aaron's face darkened. Didn't you want to become stronger? Yes, but... Are you going or not? If you don't want to, I can replace you with Velkist. After a brief hesitation, Aaron steadied his voice. I'll go. Good. I nodded. Requesting Aaron's participation through mail was also a burden for me. It had no merit for anything, but he still agreed.
The three heroes, anything, requested to participate in the comments are me, Jenna, and Aaron. Should we prepare right away? No, it'll take about a week. Recruitment would end tomorrow in Earth time. The announcement would be 2 days later. There was about a week left in waiting room time. We couldn't depart right away. Jenna and Aaron didn't meet the recruitment criteria. I checked both of their stat screens. Both were at level 19, with their experience bars nearly full. With a few more rounds on the 19th floor, they would reach level 20. There were spare promotion tickets as well. There was plenty of leeway. Anyway, I understand. We're going to another place in a week, right? This is starting to excite me a bit. Jenna got up from her seat. After patting Aaron's shoulders once, she left the lounge. She seemed to have realized that there was something I wanted to discuss with Aaron separately. In the lounge, with just the two of us left, Aaron spoke up. Hungnam, about the Niflheimer you mentioned last time. That's right, it's the place we're going to. I took a deep breath. We'll stay a month there. But for you, Aaron, it might not be a month. You may not be able to return here. Aaron didn't respond. The instructor position is vacant. Dika can't handle it alone. You have another option besides fighting. Yet are you determined to walk the difficult path? Aaron finally spoke. I'll go. All right, there's nothing more to say then, I said. Be prepared. You either become stronger there, or there's a high chance you won't make it. Yes. Ask Edis to give you the permission to leave the party. Your training won't be done in a month. It'll take a year. It takes that long? Did you think you'd become strong in a snap of your fingers and come back? I chuckled and stood up from the couch. After roughly tidying up the chessboard on the table, I stuffed it into a drawer. Chess. Maybe I would play it when I have some free time. I didn't know why it was here in the first place. Time passed. Edis accepted Aaron's departure request. Returning could take more than a few months, or he might not be able to return at all. There was no option other than acceptance. The preparations for meeting the conditions also began. 19th floor. The members were me, Edis, Iloka, Jenna, and Aaron. It was a mixed composition of two parties. The 19th floor was slightly more difficult than the 18th, but the analysis was already complete. Two of them quickly reached level 20. Promotion proceeded smoothly. After extracting the soul stones, anything immediately evolved them into 3 stars. I decided not to ask what memories they had seen. And then, the announcement day. The list of candidates included anything's account name. It was an unbelievable condition. They applied for not 1, but 3, yet they won with a probability of over 100 to 1. It couldn't be a coincidence. I confirmed my hypothesis here. This recruitment event is related to me. Furthermore, they have information about me. Otherwise, they wouldn't have matched the conditions exactly. It's convenient. I saved myself the trouble of finding them. Once the announcement was confirmed, I called the other members of Party 1. After the explanation, Valkist spoke up. Are you leaving this place for a long time? Yes. Are you going to train somewhere else to become stronger? I nodded. Valkist's expression turned displeasing. Why am I not on the list? Why not me? Nerissa joined in too. I said, I'll let you all go when the time comes. Niflheim's training service had a good reputation. Although it was for the sake of obtaining gems, I took it seriously. The nearly 20,000 application comments were the proof. There were negative reviews about the service too, but listen to Edis carefully, especially you, Valkist. Are you worried so much? Valkist chuckled. It's not just worrying. I have not the slightest doubt. Nerissa grinned. Valkist drew his sword. I kicked Valkist's right hand, and the sword went spinning, sticking into the table. Are you guys 10-year-olds? I sighed involuntarily. Anyway, don't cause trouble until I come back. Are you sure you'll come back? What do you mean? Is there a possibility of changing affiliation? Valkist sheathed his sword.
His face was expressionless. He's hitting the mark. I said, "It's not like it's not there." Then I said, "Don't worry, I don't have that intention." It definitely exists in Pick Me Up, How to Change a Hero's Affiliation. Niflheim has expanded by supplying and recruiting talent through various methods other than its own summons. It's a change of affiliation. I have no intention of doing that. Not yet. I swallowed the rest of my words. And again, a few days later, a message appeared on the master screen. Notification. Niflheim affiliate, Landgrid 07, demands a port call. Will you accept?
Chapter 89. I placed the file in the drawer and locked it. I picked up my sword and shield leaning against the wall. The clock showed 8:27 p.m. Anything was still connected. Master, another account is requesting a dimensional transfer. The account will land in this waiting room momentarily. Do you accept? Yes. Opening a dimensional rift for the account Landgrid 07. Captain Misakis, 5-star, is requesting a trade with the Master. Request 1,500 gems. The exchange window appeared on Anything's control screen. It was a demand for payment for training services in Niflheimer. Soon, a leather pouch containing blue gems appeared in the exchange window. I left the room glancing at the screen out of the corner of my eye. There was nothing else to take apart from my equipment. Niflheimer would provide everything I needed. As I walked out, I encountered Jenna and Aaron in the corridor. "Are you ready?" "I'm ready." "I am too, Hangnim." I nodded. They had no special equipment, just a bow, a spear, and a few daggers. We left the accommodation together. The dimensional rift was open beside the door in front of the second-floor plaza. Some familiar faces were visible near the open door. "Are you going now?" "Edis and Roderick." "It might get boring." "We will be waiting." Even Velkist, Narissa, and Eloka. All the combat heroes on the second floor were gathered in one place. "It's quite a send-off." I smiled. "Don't cause any trouble. This sort of thing will happen more often from now on." Sending heroes off to places other than the waiting room wasn't uncommon. Right now, almost all the heroes were stuck here, but as we climbed higher and more dimensions joined, there would be specialized parties responsible for the outside. "You said 1 month, right? Are you sure?" "I can't guarantee it. It could be delayed or expedited." "I'm worried. What if you end up in a different place?" Eloka pouted. "You can do some research while I'm gone." "Oh, well..." "Edis, keep an eye on her. She tends to slack off when I'm not around." "All right." Without the core members, the ascent would be delayed. There were several tasks that had piled up inside. I had already told Edis about the points where heroes needed to assist the Master. Even the auxiliary members came to say hello. After exchanging greetings with each member, the heroes left one by one. "Stay safe." Finally, Edis, the last one remaining, extended her hand to me. We shook hands. I felt strangely awkward. Jenna, who had been watching Edis, spoke up. "We'll come back, right?" "Don't worry about unnecessary things. Just go." We entered the dimensional rift. A straight corridor stretched out in front of us. In the middle of our leisurely walk, Isil appeared with a familiar light. "Hun, hey!" "What is it?" Isil's eyes were swollen and red. She was wiping her eyes with a white handkerchief, her voice quivering. "I heard a strange rumor that you won't come back from Niflheimer. This is not true, right?" "Who's spreading such nonsense?" "Yeah, right." It seems that the rumor had spread. I shook my head and took a step forward. "Don't worry, I will bring him back safely." Jenna reassured Isil, putting her arm around her. "Really? He can't get stolen. I trust you. If those guys take him, it's over. They're a bunch of thieves. Corporate tyranny." I pulled Isil's cheeks. "I'm sorry for being tyrannical." "Oh, no, I'm not talking about Loki. Anyway, come back. Promise me." If I refused, she was ready to burst into tears. Her nose was completely red. I put my hand on my forehead. When I pinky promised her, Isil's tear-soaked face brightened. "So you promise this. You will definitely come back." "Yes, so stop whining." "Then I will wait." With that, Isil became light and disappeared. Aaron laughed lightly. Young Nim is probably the only person the fairy would treat like that. We continued down the straight corridor. At the dead end of the dimensional rift, something unusual came into view. It was about 20 meters in size. It was a sleek, black, ship-like entity with golden decorations of a mountain goat on the bow. It was a Landgrid series, a Niflheimer airship model. "Wow, isn't this cool?" Jenna grinned. "Do you know airships?" "Yes, I heard about it from my dad. He said there were ships flying in the sky." "I've seen them before too, although I couldn't ride one since it's an aristocrat's exclusive." "Is that so?" "It seems that even in Townia the concept of airships existed. Well, without that concept you wouldn't be able to find heroes who were engineers." I took a step forward, and the distance gradually closed. "Confirm your identity." Somewhere in the airship, a woman's voice echoed. "Are you Han Israt, Jenna Shirai, and Aaron from Townia?" I nodded. "Confirmed. Ejecting the entrance. Please come up carefully." Clank. A staircase descended after a mechanical sound from the ship's railing. "It seems different from what I've seen." "Is it a more recent model?" "It looks like it." Aaron smiled bitterly. "Let's go." I stepped onto the staircase leading to the airship. "Master, the dispatch begins. Dispatched heroes, Han, 3 stars, Jenna, 3 stars, Aaron, 3 stars. Region, Niflheimer 101. Type, training. Duration, 10 days. Caution, from the moment the dispatch is sent, the affiliation of the hero will temporarily change to Niflheimer. Do you accept?" "Yes." The exchange process was over. The whirlpool of dimensions behind the airship began to shine blue. As I set foot on the first step of the railing, a girl in a black uniform approached me. "Welcome, I'm Lydell, your guide to Niflheimer." "Hello." Jenna's awkward greeting made Lydell smile. I surveyed the airship's deck. There was nothing particularly noteworthy. The main material was metal. Apart from the lack of sails, it wasn't significantly different from the appearance of a ship. "But it flies in the sky." Several people were on the deck, their curious gazes fixed on us. Lydell cleared her throat and straightened her neck. "Landgrid 07. Boarding complete. Departing." The voice rang out as clearly as if it were on a loudspeaker. "A wizard. 1 per airship." To ensure proper mobility, they needed a class higher than a mage, a wizard. Although they were affiliated with Niflheimer, I couldn't pinpoint who exactly it was. With hundreds of wizards in their possession, I didn't memorize them all. Vroom! A strange sensation of floating enveloped my entire body. Jenna and Aaron, who had been standing on the deck, were surprised. It was clear that they were experiencing riding an airship for the first time. I laughed and leaned against the railing. The airship, about 3 meters above the ground, began to move slowly towards the dimensional whirlpool. "Is this normal?" Jenna asked with a hint of anxiety. On the opposite side, a pair of men and women chuckled. When I glared at them, they turned their heads. "As long as you don't die, stay quiet. Don't make it obvious that you're a country bumpkin." "All right." The whirlpool of dimensions began to swallow the bow. Beep.
Niflheimer-affiliated airship Landgrid 07 is departing. At some point, the entire ship became hazy, and when the light faded, the airship was flying in the unfamiliar sky. The wind brushed against my cheek. First, I saw clouds, at an altitude of at least 1,000 meters. When I looked down, a familiar sight caught my eye. That's a desolate land with no blades of grass growing, as far as the eye could see. Even from a distance, it was recognizable. It was Townia after its destruction.
I looked back. In the distant horizon, a circular tower soared. The lower part of the tower was buried underground, and the upper part was obscured by clouds. Was it like this? The whirlpool we had just escaped from in the middle of the sky swayed. Aaron, who had been leaning out of the railing, spoke. "This is amazing!" He had no idea where this place was. "Is that so? I'm sure this is normal to you, young Nim. Enjoy the view as much as you want. I'm going inside. We'll arrive in 2 days." There was a staircase in the middle of the deck. I left the two of them behind and walked up the stairs. A message appeared at the top of my field of vision. Dimension 1935, Townia. The system is visible even here, I thought. The status window also appeared. This place seemed to be firmly within the pick-me-up zone as well. I yawned and entered the cabin. As I entered the sleeping quarters and lay on the mesh bed, Little's voice reached my ears. I opened my eyes halfway. It seemed that we wouldn't be going straight to Niflheimr. There would be quite a few other guests to transport besides us. Landgrid 07 transported guests through various dimensions. They were heroes of other masters who had won the heroes' recruitment. The total number of guests on the airship, including us, was 20. The remaining guests would be transported through other airships. "There are so many strange places," Jenna muttered from the assigned cabin. Ours was a desolate land, but there were places split into pieces, places on fire, and places covered in water. What in the world is this? Hey, do you know anything about this? Jenna was shaking on the mesh bed. She seemed tired of looking outside. "Dimensional leap about to begin. Be careful not to fall." I felt a tingling sensation deep within my body. It was a signal announcing the dimensional leap. It's about time. I got up from the bed. Through the narrow window, a familiar landscape was visible. A volcano constantly spewing lava, sulfur clouds obscuring the sky, floating islands scattered throughout. It was the same field I had seen when I regenerated the 80th floor of Niflheimr. Dimension 1106, Niflheimr. I was sure now. I picked up the weapons I had left leaning against the pillar. Beep! Alert to passengers on board. The airship will soon arrive at its destination. Please come out onto the deck. Little's voice echoed. I opened the door leading to the corridor. "Where's Aaron?" "He said he rented an empty warehouse for training. I'll call him." "He's quite diligent." I shook my head and walked out into the corridor. Passengers inside the ship were moving towards the staircase. They came in all genders and attire, but they all carried weapons. I merged into the crowd and stepped out onto the deck. "Don't lean out over the railing. It's dangerous to go outside the protective barrier." In the bustling crowd, Little was shouting while waving a fluorescent rod. "We'll arrive in about 5 minutes. There may be some shaking during the docking process, so please hold on to the nearby bunk tightly." "Oppa, I brought you—" "Huh?" Jenna's eyes widened. Aaron, who was next to her, had the same reaction. Both of them were staring blankly at their surroundings. "These two." I chuckled. A few other people had similar expressions. Dimensional whirlpools were spread out in the sky. Large and small airships were flying in the vicinity of the whirlpool. There were at least 30 of them by a rough count. Zoom. A massive object passed by next to the airship we were on. I couldn't gauge its size exactly, but it was roughly around 560 meters. This airship was of such a scale that it made the others look like tiny specks. What is this?" Jenna pointed to the airship next to us. Our view was completely blocked by the size of the airship. "It's Sigdrifa 01. It's a battleship capable of carrying 37 combat airships. The airships you see beside it are dedicated escort ships. They're called Trude 03, Trude 18. Small airships were being sucked into the hangar at the bottom of the battleship. It's not for combat. The Sigdrifa model had been retired from combat purposes since the 60th floor. Little explained one by one about the dozens of airships flying in the sky. Jenna ran her hand through her red hair. I don't understand a word of what he's saying. I understand roughly. In any case, everyone, Little finished his explanation and smiled. The whirlpool of dimensions was swallowing the bow. Welcome to the land of fallen heaven, Niflheimr.
Chapter 90. With a unique sense of buoyancy, the surroundings were engulfed in light. Niflheim. For nearly 2 years, I had tirelessly constructed this castle. I knew its structure, but seeing it with my own eyes was completely different from looking at it through a small smartphone screen. The blinding light gradually subsided. "Port call complete," Lindell's voice echoed. I opened my eyes. Before I saw the scenery, I heard the sounds. "Landgrid 07, head to storage room 5 on the 3rd floor." "Roger that." "Hurrist 14 to Bay 8 and Hurrist 09 to Bay 11. A bustling atmosphere filled with the sound of machinery and people mixed together. Jenna widened her eyes. "There are so many people." "It's overwhelming," Aaron muttered. This place was a dimensional rift on the 5th floor of Niflheimr, but it was different from Taunia's facility. The ceiling, hundreds of meters high, seemed endless, and across a vast expanse of more than 1,000 meters, numerous machines and people were in motion. "We're deploying the stairs. Descend carefully." Clink, clink. The stairs rose from the railing. Passengers descended, glancing around in all directions. Among them were the 2 who had mocked Jenna. I descended the stairs as well. "This is all for me. The next departure will be soon. To all the trainees who have used this ship, good luck." "Where are we supposed to go?" a man asked, turning around. "If you go outside the corridor, the instructors in charge of guidance will be waiting. Just follow them." As the last person stepped onto the ground, the stairs began to ascend. Landgrid 07 turned and moved towards a storage bay on one side of the wall. They would finish maintenance there and refuel before the next flight. "Where's the corridor to the outside?" A curly-haired woman in leather armor scratched her head. People around her had similar reactions. About 20 newcomers stood in one place, looking around. I sighed and started walking. The man asked, "Do you know the way?" "It's right there." I pointed to the circular corridor in the distance. It seemed like no one else had noticed, caught up in the spectacle. Our group began to walk towards the corridor. I said to Jenna, who was right next to me, "Don't get distracted. If we lose our way, it'll be a headache." "Of course." "Aaron, you too." "Yes." There were at least 100 people besides us here, combat heroes, support staff, and technicians responsible for the machinery. They were all in black uniforms. It was Niflheimr's conquest. They watched us pass like small fry, since assignments to other waiting rooms were uncommon. We emerged from the dimensional rift and reached a square. The scale and splendor of the facility were vastly different. A middle-aged man standing in front of the railing on the lower floor turned to us. "You're the 7th Squad recruits, I presume?" The man spoke in a gruff voice. His short hair was graying, and a gold medal hung on his black uniform. It was a symbol of an instructor. It looked different from how it appeared on the screen, but I remembered. I recalled the man's information. Elderkin, rank 114. The man continued, "I'm Elderkin Brouch, a senior instructor from Niflheimr. Follow me." Elderkin turned his back and walked away. People who had been standing around started to come to their senses. A long line formed. Is there anything special going on? I continued to think as I walked at the back. This was expected, but they don't seem to know my identity. I didn't feel bad about it. If they had welcomed me with a big fuss as soon as I arrived, it would have been quite embarrassing. Jenna and Aaron were with me. I didn't mind the lack of a noisy welcome. I looked up. I couldn't see the sky. In Taunia, you could tell the master's connection by the twinkling of the sky, but not here. Of course, it was natural. Just the number of floors in the waiting room alone exceeded 13. There was about a month left when we could return.
I need to know enough about what happened after I disappeared. Oppa, look at that! That strange machine! Jenna grabbed my sleeve. Following the tip of her index finger, I saw a glass-covered rectangular object descending along a line. An elevator? An elevator? It's a device that carries people up and down. There are all sorts of amazing things here. Other trainees from the adjacent corridor were gathering. They joined us on the path following the leading instructor. The line gradually grew longer. Aaron muttered while looking down at the railing. How big is this place? In the vast expanse of different dimensions you've been through, this is just a tiny part of Niflheimer. A female instructor walking beside us laughed. Aaron nodded in surprise. Novices and instructors gathered in the spacious hall in front of the elevator. When the instructor pressed a button on the wall, the elevator doors all opened at once. Elderkin said, "One at a time, line up and board." "What is this machine? Where does it go?" "I'll explain later." This old man is not very friendly. Thud. Elderkin's figure blurred for an instant, and then blood and broken teeth flew from the man's face. The man couldn't even scream before collapsing. Elderkin stared at the writhing man on the ground with emotionless eyes. Fast. I couldn't even see it with my own eyes. It wasn't surprising. A senior instructor had to be at least level 70 or higher. The 4 people standing beside him weren't to be underestimated either. Even if all 100 people here rushed in, they wouldn't stand a chance. Jenna narrowed her eyes. I didn't see it. That guy is really strong. Stronger than me. Than you, Oppa? Isn't that obvious? In Taunia, I might be considered invincible, but I was only a 3-star level 20 rookie. It's just the truth. So don't mess with them and obey their orders. That's a good idea. They're scary people. Elderkin kicked the man to the elevator and pushed him in. The recruits fell silent like they had hit the jackpot. One at a time, please board. There were 5 prepared elevators. The 3 of us boarded the middle one. When Elderkin finally got on, the doors closed. I muttered, looking at Elderkin standing straight. Status window. Beep. You cannot view the hero status window. As expected, they had security measures in place. Well, it didn't matter if I couldn't see it. I had a rough idea of his stats. I moved to a corner of the elevator. Between the rear of the elevator and the glass wall, I could see Niflheimer's scenery. Dozens of diverse facilities, streets and roads paved with bricks, heroes of various ages and genders. The square I had personally designed was bustling with countless people. Hundreds of heroes on the 5th floor square. I looked back on my memories and recited the impressions and names that came to mind. I don't know most of them. In the end, I laughed. There were over 20,000 heroes affiliated with Niflheimer. No matter how you looked at it, there was no way to remember them all. The elevator began to move.
The view of the 5th floor square receded upward. The elevator arrived at the 2nd floor and came to a stop. We followed Eldarkin along the brick-paved road as instructed. The 2nd floor of Niflheim. Here there were summoning chambers and training facilities. I looked beyond the walls on either side of the road. High-rise buildings stretched high into the sky. Jenna and Aaron were amazed. When they started to get a little tired of being impressed, a vast training ground appeared. Line up in rows of 10 and stand in the training ground. The director will be here soon, so please remain quiet. That darn 5 and 10. Ugh! The woman who had been complaining suddenly sat down. She was sweating profusely and seemed unable to get up. Is that intimidating? One of Eldarkin's top-level skills. Eldarkin looked at the woman lying on the ground, then entered a building outside the training ground. When he disappeared, a young man with a bad impression spat out. Listen, do you really think following their instructions will make you stronger? You won't regret it, as long as you follow my orders. The female instructor smiled slyly. Although Eldarkin told you to line up in rows of 10, he doesn't expect perfection. You can be at ease and maintain discipline. The 4 instructors withdrew to the rear of the training ground. I gazed at the high platform in front of me. To think I'd be doing this even after leaving Earth. I couldn't help but smile bitterly. It was something I had already experienced several times in school and in the military. And a little later, "Welcome, everyone," a voice echoed throughout the training ground. On the platform, a woman in uniform stood silently. "I am Eclet Pardisa, the training director responsible for all education in Niflheim." The woman with her dark hair tied back wore a black uniform with a gold coat over it. She had a blue sword at her waist. Judging by appearances, she was in her late 20s, but since heroes don't age, her exact age couldn't be determined. This woman, rank 9, one of the elite personnel of the 12th floor, just below the 5 on the 13th floor. "From now on, you will receive appropriate training from us for your missions. However, we won't force you. You are free to do nothing and leave. We will do our best, but the choice to receive training or not is up to you." Jenna raised her eyebrow. Eclet smiled meaningfully. "You are guests, just like I once was." "What is she talking about?" "I'm not sure. I had a rough idea, though." Eclet pointed to the man at the front. "You." "Me? How many airships are there in your territory?" "We have 2. In Niflheim, there are a total of 427 airships. That's about a 210-fold difference." The man's face turned red and blue. "What do you mean? Are you making fun of me?" "If you compare your power in detail." Eclet's lips curved. "There's a gap of about 3,000 times. As you know, you are all expected from your master. However, is your master meeting your expectations? Is your master so outstanding that you would willingly sacrifice your life for them?" "What?" "I asked if you could compare your master to Lord Loki. That's how it is. Somehow, I thought it would go well. What fate awaits you when you complete your training here? Out of 100 of you, 80 will become long-term horses and die in vain. And the remaining 10, they won't fare any better. They'll become mere sacrifices and disappear. This is your fate. You will become toys to be played with, discarded like trash, without honor." People murmured, but no one gave a proper answer. "But this place is different. If you prove your worth, you will be rewarded accordingly by our master." Eclet closed her eyes, then opened them. "Who you were and where you came from doesn't matter to them. Just like I, who was once an enemy of Niflheim, am here now." This woman wasn't originally from Niflheim. After my failure on the 80th floor and the significant loss of power, her master was the one who had betrayed me while we were in a cooperative relationship. Of course, I utterly destroyed his waiting room. And Eclet was captured. Saris demanded her execution, but since we needed a power replenishment, she was spared and we accepted her alive. The top 3 out of the 100 gathered here will be granted permanent residency in Niflheim, Eclet said, her coat fluttering. Of course, all responsibilities lies with our Niflheim.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.